Homage to the Triple Gem. So I was reading a post on Facebook the other day being like a week and a half ago, and the post was saying that meditation is not about changing changing experience that's arisen. It's about learning to be in that experience and understand it. And in order to understand it, I mean, you have to be in it. You can't run away from it. You can't deny it. You can't try to avoid it. And that basically it's only when you let go of the desire to change the experience that you're in that you're truly free. So there's a lot of assumptions in there, and this is a pretty common and popular position in many places in Western Buddhist circles, which is essentially that the root of suffering is craving, and craving along with aversion or dislike can't be used as a means for overcoming craving and aversion. And that whatever experience arises, your duty with regards to that experience, if you want to overcome suffering, because you can't use craving, because you can't use aversion on the path, this is implicit, or it's not skillful to use them, essentially. That the highest practice is essentially learning to be with that experience. And people use different words for this. One that's really popular right now is like just endure the experience. Other ones that have been popular, another one that's been popular in the past is just to be aware of the experience. They're essentially the same teaching. So what we're going to look at today is some suttas. And we're going to examine whether or not desire is a part of the path as laid out by the Buddha, and aversion. And we're also going to examine his teachings on meditation to see whether we should change experience that's arisen. So what I'll probably do is do a little commentary, then go through the suttas, and then wrap up with a little bit of a conclusion. So one really important thing to know is that the Noble Eightfold Path, the path to the end of suffering, is a conditioned thing. So the Buddha, I believe he calls it the highest of conditioned things, the Noble Eightfold Path. But it's something we have to put together. And what that means, because we have to put it together, we have to want to put it together. I mean, when we think about it, I think probably most of the people watching this will be convert Buddhists, not people who were born Buddhist, not people who were, just came to Buddhism because somebody showed them when they were very young how to do the rituals and how to offer dana, how to do these things, which is very good, very powerful. But there's another way that many people from Western countries come to Buddhism, which is that they suffer, kind of have a lot of suffering and want to find a way to end that suffering. And there's desire in that. That is the desire that brings people to Buddhism. And it's the desire that propels them along the path, ideally. It doesn't matter whether you're born a Buddhist, doesn't matter whether you're a convert Buddhist, but essentially what it ends up propelling you along the path, what allows you to make the sacrifices necessary to move along it, is that you're suffering. You don't want to suffer. I mean, you want to find an end to suffering, and that's desire. That's what allows you to put the path together. So we're going to jump over here to a sutta in which Venerable Ananda describes how you use desire essentially to overcome desire, to reach the ending of desire. You can use, by extension, you can use aversion, dislike, to overcome aversion. So let's take a look at the sutta. It's called the Unaba Sutta, the Brahman, to Unaba the Brahman. And should mention as well that all the suttas that I'm going to be quoting here are translated by Ajahn Thanissaro, and their translations are available on dhammatalks.org. What is the path, the practice for the abandoning of that desire? Brahman, there is the case where a monk develops the base of power endowed with concentration, founded on desire and the fabrications of exertion. He develops the base of power endowed with concentration, founded on persistence, concentration founded on intent, concentration founded on discrimination and the fabrications of exertion. This Brahman is the path, this is the practice for the abandoning of that desire. If that's so, Master Ananda, then it's an endless path, and not one with an end, for it's impossible that one could abandon desire by means of desire. In that case, Brahman, let me cross-question you on this matter. Answer as you see fit. What do you think? Didn't you first have desire thinking, I'll go to the monastery, and then when you reached the monastery, wasn't that particular desire allayed? Yes, sir. Didn't you first have persistence thinking, I'll go to the monastery, and then when you reached the monastery, wasn't that particular persistence allayed? Yes, sir. Didn't you first have intent, etc.? Didn't you first have an act of discrimination? Yes, sir. So it is with an arahant whose effluents are ended, who has reached fulfillment, done the task, laid down the burden, attained the true goal, totally destroyed the fetter of becoming, and who is released through right gnosis. Whatever desire he first had for the attainment of arahantship, on attaining arahantship, that particular desire is allayed. Whatever persistence he first had for the attainment of arahantship, on attaining arahantship, that particular persistence is allayed. Whatever intent he first had, etc., whatever discrimination he first had, etc., that particular discrimination is allayed. So what do you think, Brahman? Is this an endless path or one with an end? You're right, Master Ananda. This is a path with an end and not an endless one. Magnificent, Master Ananda. Magnificent. So there we have an example of desire. Now let's move over quickly and take a look at an example of using aversion to put together this Noble Eightfold Path. And keeping in mind that these are just single examples, you can go through the suttas and find many examples where desire and aversion are implicit in the development of the Noble Eightfold Path. So let's take a look here at the Vitakka Santana Sutta, which we'll dive into in a bit more detail later on. If evil unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk while he is attending to this other theme connected with what is skillful, he should scrutinize the drawbacks of those thoughts. Really, these thoughts of mine are unskillful. These thoughts of mine are blameworthy. These thoughts of mine result in stress. As he is scrutinizing the drawbacks of those thoughts, those evil, unskillful thoughts, connected with desire, aversion, and delusion, are abandoned and subside. With their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. Just as a young woman or man fond of adornment would be horrified, humiliated, and disgusted if the carcass of a snake or dog or human being were hung from her neck, in the same way, if evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk while he is attending to this other theme connected with what is skillful, he should scrutinize the drawbacks of those thoughts. Really, these thoughts of mine are unskillful. These thoughts of mine are blameworthy. These thoughts of mine result in stress. As he is scrutinizing the drawbacks of those thoughts, those evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion are abandoned and subside. With their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. So, this keyboard here. Pretty extreme example, or a pretty extreme simile, dealing with aversion there. So, I mean, that's pretty intense that you would want to regard unskillful thoughts with the same humiliation and disgust that one would feel if one had a dead body hung around one's neck. So clearly, I don't think there's much commentary that's needed there. That's a pretty strong example that you can and should use desire to change experience that's arisen, get rid of unwholesome thoughts, and by getting rid of unwholesome thoughts, your mind calms down. So have this kind of, in that quote, there's this, it's basically stated that you're not going to become calm if you try to, you're not going to become peaceful, you're not going to become calm if you try to get rid of experience that's arisen. But it's not the fact that we have, I mean, on a higher level, you could say on a deeper level, it is the fact that we have desire, or you call it like tanha, which has a more technical meaning than desire, that causes us to suffer. But there are things that lead the mind to become agitated, to become not calm, let's say on a lower level than nibbana. And getting rid of those things leads the mind to become calm. So it's considered to be skillful. That's what can let the mind enter samadhi. You kind of True samadhi is not just you're there watching experience. It means the arising of particular extremely pleasant feelings in the mind that are superhuman. There's something beyond the realm of just normal feelings, normal equanimity. This is not to say that equanimity is not skillful. And just backing up there a bit, when the Buddha when we talk about just watching experience, in the canon, that's equanimity. And there are defilements that respond to equanimity. There's other defilements that respond to, we might call like exerting a fabrication. So what we're trying to do when we meditate is to give rise to wholesome qualities, diminish unwholesome ones, and purify the mind through dispassion. And so we're evaluating, arisen experience here, not just being like there's a door, there's a couple doors behind me, but arisen experience being the qualities that arise in the mind, good qualities or bad qualities. How can I make the good ones grow? How can I make the bad ones diminish? And what is it that I do that will make that happen? So equanimity, this watching, this observing, is something we're doing. It requires effort to do that. And anybody who can see that, who tries to do that, and whether you call it endurance, whether you call it awareness, it's something you're putting together and can be skillful for diminishing unwholesome qualities. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into a sutta called the Devadaha Sutta, which makes it clear that there's some defilements that respond to equanimity. There's other defilements that you've got to get more active with. And so it's good to keep in mind that our aim is actually to get rid of these bad qualities. And equanimity can be skillful, but it's not the only approach. So let's take a look at this sutta. And how is striving fruitful? How is exertion fruitful? There is a case where a monk, when not loaded down, does not load himself down with pain, nor does he reject pleasure that accords with the Dhamma, although he is not infatuated on that pleasure. He discerns that, when I exert a physical, verbal, or mental fabrication against this cause of stress, then from the fabrication of exertion, get rid of this. Where'd that go? When I exert a physical, verbal, or mental fabrication against this cause of stress, then from the fabrication of exertion there is dispassion. When I look on with equanimity at that cause of stress, then from the development of equanimity there is dispassion. So he exerts a fabrication against the cause of stress, for which dispassion comes from the fabrication of exertion, and develops equanimity with regards to the cause of stress, for which dispassion comes from the development of equanimity. Thus, the stress coming from the cause of stress, where there is dispassion from the fabrication of exertion, is exhausted, and the stress/suffering coming from the cause of stress, where there is dispassion from the development of equanimity, is exhausted. I kind of just read this simile, it's kind of a funny one. Suppose that a man is in love with a woman, his mind ensnared with fierce desire, fierce passion. He sees her standing with another man, chatting, joking, and laughing. What do you think, monks? As he sees her standing with another man, chatting, joking, and laughing, would sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair arise in him? Yes, Lord. Why is that? Because he is in love with her, his mind ensnared with fierce desire, fierce passion. Now suppose the thought were to occur to him, I am in love with this woman, my mind ensnared with fierce desire, fierce passion. When I see her standing with another man, chatting, joking, and laughing, then sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair arise within me. Why don't I abandon my desire and passion for that woman? So he abandons his desire and passion for that woman, and afterwards sees her standing with another man, chatting, joking, and laughing. What do you think, monks? As he sees her standing with another man, chatting, joking, and laughing, would sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair arise in him? No, Lord. Why is that? He is dispassionate towards that woman. Okay, so let's move down to our next sutta, and we'll just let that one go there. So what we'll check out now is the Vitakka Santana Sutta. And this is a really important, all the suttas in the canon are important, are very important. But this one is really important for our topic of discussing changing arisen experience in meditation. It's very explicit. It goes over 5 different ways that you can change experience that's arisen in meditation. And so what we're getting into now are kind of categories of suttas And there's many suttas you can find which describe changing arisen experience, but categories of suttas which kind of discuss balancing the mind, bringing it into calm in some ways. You can see it, getting rid of defilements by manipulating experience, by changing the experience that you have. And equanimity is going to be part of this list. One can see it that way, that equanimity is in one of the links of this list. And keeping in mind that by being equanimous, by just watching experience, you're manipulating experience. You've already decided that you're going to be equanimous, and that's a manipulation of the experience that you have. It's a skillful one. So let's take a look here at this sutta. I have heard that on one occasion the Blessed One was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's monastery. There he addressed the monks. Monks, yes, Lord, the monks responded to him. The Blessed One said, when a monk is intent on the heightened mind, there are 5 themes he should attend to at the appropriate times. Which 5? There is the case where evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion arise in a monk while he is referring to and attending to a particular theme. He should attend to another theme apart from that one, connected with what is skillful. When he is attending to this other theme apart from that one, connected with what is skillful, then those evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion are abandoned and subside. With their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. Just as a dexterous carpenter or his apprentice would use a small peg to knock out, drive out, and pull out a large one. In the same way, if evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion arise in a monk, while he is attending to or referring to and attending to a particular theme, he should attend to another theme, apart from that one, connected with what is skillful. When he's attending to this other theme, apart from that one, connected with what is skillful, then those evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion are abandoned and subside. With their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. So then we have the second one, which we already went over, discussing, thinking about how these thoughts are really unskillful and being horrified and disgusted by them. So now we'll go to the third one. This is one that one could potentially see dealing with the equanimity, this just watching experience that we've discussed. It can also be a kind of ignoring. One could also potentially see it as like an ignoring of the experience, like turning away from the experience, not letting it come into the mind, rather than just being there and watching it. So let's take a read of this one. If evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk while he is scrutinizing the drawbacks of those thoughts, he should pay no mind and pay no attention to those thoughts. As he is paying no mind and paying no attention to them, those evil, unskillful thoughts are abandoned and subside, etc. Just as a man with good eyes, not wanting to see forms that had come into range, would close his eyes or look away. In the same way, if evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk while he is scrutinizing the drawbacks of those thoughts, he should pay no mind and pay no attention to those thoughts, etc. So that's a pretty explicit one right there. I mean, it's not just that you are denying and avoiding the evil, unskillful thoughts there. I mean, it's actually even kind of hard to extrapolate from that and say that that could be referring to just watching the thoughts, but maybe there's ways that a person could conceive of it that way. In any event, we've already determined that can be skillful in the previous sutta, the Devadaha Sutta. So let's take a look at the next example. If evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk while he is paying no mind and paying no attention to those thoughts, he should attend to the relaxation of thought fabrication with regards to those thoughts. As he is attending to the relaxation of thought fabrication with regards to those thoughts, those evil, unskillful thoughts are abandoned and subside, etc. Just as the thought would occur to a man walking quickly, why am I walking quickly? Why don't I walk slowly? So he walks slowly. The thought occurs to him, why am I walking slowly? Why don't I stand? So he stands. The thought occurs to him, why am I standing? Why don't I sit down? So he sits down. The thought occurs to him, why am I sitting? Why don't I lie down? So he lies down. In this way, giving up the grosser posture, he takes a more refined one. In the same way, if evil, unskillful thoughts, etc., still arise in the monk, he should attend to the relaxation of thought fabrication with regards to those thoughts. So this one basically seems to be referring to this act of slowing down the mental energy that's giving rise to those thoughts. There's a particular energy and speed which with which one thinks that can help evil, unskillful thoughts, bad thoughts to proliferate. And this can especially be the case with thoughts that are leading to anxiety, as well as others. But anxiety especially seems to thrive on a proliferation of fast-moving thoughts. So one can actually try to focus, instead of on the content of the thoughts, at the speed with which one is thinking them, and try to slow the speed down. And can even focus on the energy that's behind those and try to slow the energy flow down. And in this way, those thoughts can be relaxed, because sometimes the nature of that evil, unskillful thought, emotion, is being fed and maintained by the speed with which one is thinking the thoughts, the speed with which the energy may be coming. So, last one. If evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk, while he's attending to the relaxation of thought fabrication with regard to those thoughts, then with his teeth clenched and tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he should beat down, constrain, and crush his mind with his awareness. As with his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he is beating down, constraining, and crushing his mind with his awareness. Those evil, unskillful thoughts are abandoned and subside, etc. Just as a strong man seizing a weaker man by the head or throat or shoulders would beat him down, constrain, and crush him, in the same way, if evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk while he is attending to the relaxation of thought fabrication, then with his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he should beat down, constrain, and crush his mind with his awareness, etc. So, I was actually messaging with a gentleman on Discord about this, and one of the ways that that's interpreted sometimes is really that people interpret it. People have, well, at least it has been interpreted in the past as that's like the ultimate equanimity. You're just watching things and really not responding to them. There's this kind of there's this word like vipulasa in the Pali Canon. You might use this word like cognitive dissonance that can sometimes arise when people get this idea in their head that they should just watch things with equanimity. Then, like, every teaching in the canon gets interpreted that way, and this is one of the most like explicit teachings here that you're really getting rid of arisen experience here. You're physically clenching your teeth, tensing your body essentially, and doing that to cut off this evil, unskillful thought. So, I mean, it's really clear that this is not an act of equanimity here. This is something where you are putting forth all your effort, all your energy to cut off the energy flows that are even leading to the thoughts, essentially. Using your physical body and scrunching tensing up your muscles to cut off the thought pattern. And that's going to work temporarily. It can lead to the calming of those thoughts, especially can be useful in times when you're about to do something that's really unskillful and you've got to stop it before you do the unskillful thing. I mean, you can see this in little kids actually when they don't want to see something, they don't want to hear something. They'll be like, I don't want to hear it. You kind of scrunch their eyes and scrunch their face together, and it can be effective. I mean. You kind of go la 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 la. You won't hear the person talking. I mean, it's not a long-term solution, but it can be a good short-term solution to overcome defilements that are just about to propel you into doing something really unskillful. So the last part of this sutta says, goes over the methods. And then says, when you use these methods and you steady your mind right within, settle it, unify it, and concentrate it. He is then called a monk with mastery over the ways of thought sequences. He thinks whatever thought he wants to and doesn't think whatever thought he doesn't. He has severed craving, thrown off the fetters, and through the penetration of conceit has made an end to suffering and stress. So that's getting pretty even further along the line there. It's not just that you're accepting the thoughts that come. Whatever thoughts you want to think, you think. Whatever thoughts you don't want to think, you don't want to think. That's considered mastery. Not just that you have this mastery over watching things, but that you have now gained the ability to manipulate. You're in such control over your mind that you can think what you want and not think what you don't want. And that's going beyond just manipulating the thoughts that have arisen. I mean, at that point, you have a great power to create your reality, because you can think what you want and not think what you don't want. I mean, not talking about psychic powers here, like changing a table into a chair. We're talking about the experience that you have of those things. So, very skillful thing to learn to do, and something which this sutta makes the point that lends itself to the point that arahants can do this, that they can think the thoughts that they want and not think the thoughts that they don't want, as a skill. Okay, so let's go on to another sutta, which is an important one, which talks about the balancing of the mind. So it's not just the case that we want to, we do want to get rid of unwholesome thoughts, unwholesome intentions. And part of that is learning to balance things, balance the mind out. So sometimes when unwholesome thoughts are arriving, we want to get rid of it. Sometimes we can also kind of prevent them from arising in a way by like balancing the mind out. You know, it's too energetic, we can tone it down and make it more calm. When the mind is balanced this way, this is another way that the Buddha describes as being skillful. So let's take a look at this. This is another way in which we can manipulate experience with the intention to balance, which obviously overlaps with our previous sutta there, getting rid of unwholesome thoughts and concentrating the mind. A monk intent on heightened mind, which basically means the jhanas, should attend periodically to three themes. He should attend periodically to the theme of concentration. He should attend periodically to the theme of uplifted energy. He should attend periodically to the theme of equanimity. If the monk intent on heightened mind were to attend solely to the theme of concentration, it's possible that his mind would tend to laziness. If he were to attend solely to the theme of uplifted energy, it's possible that his mind would tend to restlessness. If he were to attend solely to the theme of equanimity, it's possible that his mind would not be rightly concentrated for the ending of the effluence. But when he attends periodically to the theme of concentration, attends periodically to the theme of uplifted energy, attends periodically to the theme of equanimity, his mind is pliant, malleable, luminous, and not brittle. It is rightly concentrated for the ending of the effluence. Just as if a goldsmith or goldsmith's apprentice were to set up a smelter, having set up the smelter, he would fire the receptacle. Having fired the receptacle, he would take hold of some gold with his tongs and place it in the receptacle. Periodically, he would blow on it. Periodically, sprinkle it with water. Periodically, examine it closely. If he were solely to blow on it, it's possible that the gold would burn up. If he were solely to sprinkle it with water, it's possible that the gold would grow cold. If he were solely to examine it closely, it's possible that the gold would not come to full perfection. But when he periodically blows on it, periodically sprinkles it with water, periodically examines it closely, the gold becomes pliant, malleable, and luminous. It is not brittle and is ready to be worked. Then whatever sort of ornament he has in mind, whether a belt, an earring, a necklace, or a gold chain, the gold would serve his purpose. In the same way, a monk should attend periodically to these three themes, etc. So now we'll move on to one of our last suttas we're going to take a look at, which is the Nissaraniya Sutta. Nissarana means escape, and my Pali, not perfect by any means, but I believe iya is the instrumental ending, and that means like you're using it for something. So you've got like the means of escape, Nissaraniya Sutta. So another way that we manipulate, that we change arisen experience, is through the choice of our meditation topic. The Buddha makes it clear in more than one sutta that certain meditation topics can and should be used for the elimination of particular defilements. So if we've got anger coming into the mind, then metta is the elimination for that. Lust is coming into one's mind, then asubha is the topic that's used for the elimination of that. And an interesting one, actually, one of the things that I asked Jnanadeepa Bhante, if you have anxiety and remorse, restlessness and anxiety, it appears in the suttas that the cutting off of discursive thoughts by using anapanasati is a really good topic for that. So let's take a look at this sutta, which goes over meditation topics that we use to manipulate experience, we use to change our arisen experience to generate calm, essentially, to generate peace, to lead us up that ladder. And desire and aversion are imbued with the use of these topics. We're using them to get something we don't have and to get rid of negative, unwholesome qualities that we don't want to be there. So monks, there are these six properties are means of escape. Which six? There is the case where a monk might say, although goodwill has been developed, pursued, handed the reins, taken as a basis, steadied, consolidated, and well undertaken by me as my awareness release, still ill will keeps overpowering my mind. He should be told, don't say that, you shouldn't speak that way, don't misrepresent the Blessed One, for it's not right to misrepresent the Blessed One. And the Blessed One wouldn't say that. It's impossible. There is no way that when goodwill has been developed, pursued, handed the reins, taken as a basis, steadied, consolidated, and well undertaken as an awareness release, ill will would still keep overpowering the mind. That possibility doesn't exist, for this is the escape from ill will, goodwill as an awareness release. And then, further, there is the case where a monk might say, although compassion has been developed, etc., still harmfulness keeps overpowering my mind. He should be told, don't say that, etc. That possibility doesn't exist, for this is the escape from harmfulness, compassion as an awareness release. And further, there is the case where a monk might say, although empathetic joy has been developed, pursued, handed the reins, taken as a basis, etc., still resentment, or maybe this could also be considered as jealousy as well, resentment/jealousy, keeps overpowering my mind. Should be told, don't say that. That possibility doesn't exist, for this is the escape from resentment and also possibly jealousy there. Empathetic joy is awareness release. Then it discusses equanimity. Don't say that. You shouldn't speak that way. Don't say that passion still keeps overpowering the mind. That possibility doesn't exist when a monk has really well developed that, etc. For this is the escape from passion. Equanimity is an awareness release. So here what the Buddha appears to be emphasizing is that kind of, like that energy, that passion that's there, like say in a debate, in a really strong political view, the passion that's behind one's sometimes really strong attachments to people that one loves or that one hates possibly, and that these things are abandoned with equanimity. Here it doesn't appear to be describing a complete relinquishment of all craving. It appears to be emphasizing like this type of strong energy from passion, perhaps more than a general cutting off of all craving, all liking and disliking. Then discusses the signless. The signless meditation is an escape from signs, nimittas, or kind of marks that one might like to attach to, essentially the signless awareness release. And then the conceit I am says, and further there is the case where a monk might say, although I am is gone, and I do not assume I am this, still the arrow of uncertainty and perplexity keeps overpowering my mind. He should be told, don't say that, you shouldn't speak that way, don't misrepresent the Blessed One, for it's not right to misrepresent the Blessed One. And the Blessed One wouldn't say that. It's impossible. There's no way that when I am is gone, and I am this is not assumed, the arrow of uncertainty and perplexity would keep overpowering the mind. That possibility doesn't exist, for this is the escape from the arrow of uncertainty and perplexity, the uprooting of the conceit I am. These monks are six properties that are means of escape. So there's more suttas. There's another sutta at least like that, and I believe even more, that describe using meditation topics to escape from particular qualities, essentially to abandon unwholesome qualities. So now we'll turn to our final sutta, the Sutta, the Cook. This is very important sutta and kind of brings together in some ways a lot of what we've been discussing here. That there's particular themes that one has. Themes basically means ways in which one can direct the mind so that the mind becomes calm, so that the mind becomes peaceful. And the theme here can mean, a combination of essentially everything that we've talked about going through here. So the way that we direct our mind so that it becomes calm, the way that we manipulate experience so that it becomes calm, whether that's through equanimity or through any of the million, billion, trillion ways that we can manipulate experience. So let's take a look at this sutta. Suppose that there is a foolish, incompetent, unskillful cook who has presented a king or king's minister with various kinds of curry, mainly sour, mainly bitter, mainly peppery, mainly sweet, alkaline or non-alkaline, salty or non-salty. He doesn't take note of his master, thinking, today my master likes this curry, or reaches out for that curry, or he takes a lot of this curry, or he praises that curry. Today my master likes mainly sour curry. Today my master likes mainly bitter curry, mainly peppery curry, mainly sweet curry, alkaline curry, non-alkaline curry, salty curry. Today my master likes non-salty curry, or he reaches out for non-salty curry, or he takes a lot of non-salty curry, or he praises non-salty curry. As a result, he is not rewarded with clothing or wages or gifts. Why is that? Because the foolish, incompetent, unskillful cook doesn't take note of his own master. In the same way, there is the case where a foolish, incompetent, unskillful monk remains focused on the body in and of itself, ardent, alert, and mindful, subduing greed and distress with reference to the world. As he remains thus focused on the body in and of itself, his mind doesn't become concentrated. His defilements are not abandoned. He doesn't take note of that fact. He remains focused on feelings in and of himself, the mind, mental qualities in and of themselves, ardent, alert, and mindful, subduing greed and distress with reference to the world. As he remains thus focused on mental qualities in and of themselves, his mind doesn't become concentrated. His defilements are not abandoned. He doesn't take note of that fact. As a result, he is not rewarded with the pleasant abiding here and now, nor with mindfulness and alertness. Why is that? Because the foolish, incompetent, unskillful monk doesn't take note of his own mind. So then it goes and describes the opposite. Here the cook takes note of what kind of curry his master likes, and then provides more of that, essentially. And as a result, he's rewarded with wages. In the same way, a monk notes when his mind becomes concentrated. And as a result, he does more of whatever it is that concentrates his mind. And he's rewarded with a pleasant abiding here and now. So there's a couple good points in this, more than one good point in the sutta. One of them is that if you're practicing meditation in a particular way and it's not leading to the ending of your defilements, you don't feel like your defilements are going down, like your good qualities are going up, you should take note of it and then change it. I mean, practice meditation in such a way, and we've gone over a whole bunch of different ways you can manipulate, you can play with your arisen experience here. Essentially doing that is a way of meditating. You can approach your meditation topic from multiple different angles as well, different ways to imagine a subha, different ways to work with the breath in the body, different parts one can breathe from, different ways of breathing, different types of focus one can put on the breath. All the meditation topics can be like this. You can manipulate them in different ways. And can take note of the fact, when I approach this meditation topic in this way, one can take note that, okay, I feel more calm. I'm going to keep doing more of that. And if it changes, then one does less. So this is why it's really important not to have like a meditation technique that one just does no matter what, like going to equanimity. No matter what happens, I'm just going to be equanimous and, either just be with awareness or endure. That's a meditation technique, and it's something that is not going to be appropriate at all times and places. If it is not working, you have to take note of that fact. I was talking to a gentleman this past week, and we've been discussing over a couple of weeks. One of the things that he was saying, there's everybody's got their things that pull them off. So there's this one thing that pulled him off. He tried to just be equanimous and endure it, and it didn't work. He kind of got pulled off by it. So if that doesn't work, then you can try something else. It's not the case that just observing, just enduring will be a catch-all solution for everything. And this sutta makes that point. So we want to observe cause and effect in our relationship with the good qualities, the bad qualities in our mind, because there's things that we're doing to make them arise. The Noble Eightfold Path is something that we put together. We put it together because of desire, because of aversion. We don't want to suffer. We want to find the ending of suffering. And those are qualities which we don't want to abandon. You don't just want to decide that the situation that you're in is good enough and give up putting forth effort to find something better. At the very end of the path, when a person has really developed their skillfulness, really developed their concentration, developed their wisdom, can manipulate things extremely well, then essentially they can reach a point where they see that any act of manipulation, any act of intention is suffering. But it takes a while to get there. You develop to that point. It's like a person, you have to imagine the mind like the suffering that's in the mind is something that's being caused by addictions. There's things that we like that we can't give up. It's not just that we don't know they're unskillful, it's that we're addicted to something And so we haven't been able to give it up. And one of the classic strategies with addiction is that you replace a grosser addiction with a lesser one. I mean, maybe you're a smoker or something like that. So, you replace that smoking cigarettes with, one can replace smoking cigarettes with vaping, and then give up vaping after, I don't know if that always happens for people. I think some people just keep on vaping. But you give that up. You replace it with a lesser habit, and then give up that habit entirely. So in a similar way, we use desire to overcome desire. We put this path together through desire. We desire to develop sila. We desire to develop samadhi. We desire to develop panya. And then when those things have been developed to a degree that's really high, when our addictions to everything else has been broken, including to the body and to all sensual desires, when a person's addictions to just about everything except for their consciousness are broken, then it's at that point, the very last portion of the path, that one lets go of everything. Let's go of the path itself. Let's go of the Dhamma itself. Let's go of everything that's fabricated to find something that's unfabricated, to find a permanent peace. But until that time, manipulate experience. Use desire. Manipulate experience through equanimity. Manipulate it through even crushing the mind with the mind. Whatever works well, whatever theme of the mind, the way that one attends to the mind leads it into deeper and deeper states of peace, until we can find that state where, until we've climbed to the very top of the ladder, we can jump off of it and let go of the ladder itself. But until then, hold on tight and keep manipulating to reach the goal that we're striving for, which is the end of suffering.